Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today, we're joined by two Iowa high school students, Riley and Kendall, and they represent a voice of youth that is rising up to meet the challenge of sometimes dangerous and predatory influences related to legal and illegal substances that pose a considerable risk to their generation. And I say rising up because it's embarrassing to my generation that youth are forced to take action on risks that we as adults have allowed to proliferate. So they're not only brave, but they also have a message we need to hear. And maybe by listening, we can find a way to help. Let's meet our guests, Riley and Kendall. I welcome you both to the show. Riley, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a junior at Easton Valley in Jackson County, Iowa, and I've been a big advocate for speaking against tobacco use and drinking use for teenagers. I do a lot of work with ISTEP, which is Iowa Students for Tobacco Education and Prevention, and I do a lot of work with ASAC here in Clinton. That stands for Area Substance Abuse Counseling.
All right, Kendall, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a senior at Monticello High School, that's in Jones County. And I'm pretty heavily involved in school, but I'm especially passionate about one of our student clubs here called SODA, or Students Opposed to Drugs and Alcohol. I'm a president of that club, and so I help educate the students at my school on options to use besides drugs and alcohol. We give them activities, and we try our best to be a resource for the students here. And through that club, I've got lots of great opportunities to attend conferences, to educate myself on substance abuse prevention. And so that's been amazing. And it's kind of sparked a little bit of advocacy in me. And I like to speak out about these things. And I'm also a DARE role model at my school, trying to be a representative, a role model for these students on making healthy lifestyle choices.
Wow, this is exciting. And really, to me as an adult, it's so inspiring to see you doing this because in my generation, we didn't have these issues that we've dealt with every day in the way that you are today. Riley, what were some of the things that motivated your heart, sort of triggered you to want to get involved in this?
Okay, yeah. So when I was in middle school, I had a best friend, and we didn't always make the brightest choices. And my best friend was very big on vaping. And my freshman year, she would have been in eighth grade. She unfortunately passed away. And that was a very hard thing to handle. And then once I found out that it was due to complications involving vaping, that just kind of flipped a switch in me that was like, all right, I got to do something about this. So it was very hard trying to convince my friends to also stop vaping. A lot of them didn't want to. I mean, they were grieving, they were doing anything to help that. And I became very angry about it. And I was like, okay, this is not healthy. I'm ruining my friendships like this. What can I do in a healthy way? So I had this idea of like presenting to our elementary, and ASAC really helped me with that. And that just kind of got the ball rolling. That got me involved more and more. And yeah, and then a few months after Addie had passed away, her boyfriend was struggling with grief, and he was given alcohol and drove home on a four-wheeler and wrecked and also passed away. So
Wow.
our community has faced a lot of tragedy from um, things involving drinking and smoking and all of that. And I also watched a lot of my friends go down the wrong path after this happened.
Well, we're going to come back to that. I definitely want to hear more of what you have to say. Kendall, what about you? What motivated your heart to get engaged in this?
Yeah, so I've kind of been engaged in it for a long time. Like Riley said, in middle school, when all of these choices are being presented to us, and kids are learning about all of these different opportunities, these things that are seen as cool by the high school kids. I had a couple friends make choices very similar to your friends, and so that kind of got the ball rolling. Listening to stories. Obviously, like I did DARE as a fifth grader and now as a role model. So that's kind of a nice connection. And then there has been an issue of substance abuse in my family. And so I kind of knew about it from a younger age. I had an idea about it, about the consequences, about what it can do to people and family and their relationships. And my huge passion kind of got sparked in November of 2023 when my best friend's father was killed in a drug-related shooting. And that kind of sparked the advocacy for me when I was going out and trying my best to get stories like this out there, because I feel like people don't understand how much one person's choices can affect my entire community of 4,000 people.
Wow, that is extremely intense. I'm looking forward to getting into both of your stories after the break. We're going to take a short break, and we come back. We're going to continue our conversation with Kendall and Riley. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Well, because it's the best. And that's true, because I've thought about that. I mean, definitely the fastest. And the biggest thing I hear most people talk about is the stability of it.
Mediacom's network is very reliable. We have a lot of programs in place that can monitor kind of issues that arise. That way we can fix them before they reach the customer.
Trust the pros. Get Extreme Internet starting at $9.99 a month for a year.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All Mediacom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your Mediacom account. Not a Mediacom cable subscriber? Mediacom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with teens Kendall and Riley about life, risks, and learning in growing up in high school today. Let's hear a little bit more about Kendall's story. Kendall?
Yeah. So like I said, I kind of got into this very passionately in November of 2023. And my story may seem like a sad one, but I want to tell it so that people know that things like this happen and that there's others out here going through it. On November 7th of 2023, my entire school got a text that we were going under lockdown because there was an armed gunman in the area. And for any high school student, it's a crazy message. It was the entire atmosphere was filled with anxiety. We had no idea what was going on. No one gave us any information. And then eventually, about an hour into the lockdown, I was told that it was my best friend's father and that he was injured in the shooting. And so the process of supporting my friend, but not knowing anything that was going on, it was extremely tough. And we live in a very small town. I live in the town of Monticello, Iowa. We have approximately 4,000 people in our town. So things like this don't happen. So obviously in a small town, rumors are abuzz. News travels like wildfire, but sometimes information isn't accurate. So we really didn't know what was actually happening until the end of the day, when I was finally talking with my best friend and he told me everything that had happened. A man from Illinois who was supposed to be imprisoned on drug charges was somehow in the state of Iowa with a firearm that we had no idea how he had gotten, most likely from his parents. And it was a completely unrelated shooting. He had driven by. In our local town, we have a small grocery store, Fairway. Lots of small towns have them. It's about the only grocery store we have. It's a community center. It's a hub. It's a place to feel safe. And my best friend's father, Aaron McAtee, worked there. He worked at the meat counter for over 15 years, I think. And he was a staple of our community. He was simply taking out the trash, and this man had driven by and shot and killed him. And then it started a whole police chase that locked down several schools in our area. And so not only was my town on lockdown and they were scared and anxious, but all of the towns surrounding us were feeling the exact same way. And we kind of had no idea what was going on. And when I finally eventually heard about the circumstances, the person who had did this, the fact that they were out and that the prison system had let them out, even though they were on drug charges and weren't even supposed to be out of jail. It kind of sparked my passion to tell these stories, because there is no reason why my entire community, my best friend and his family, had to grieve someone so young, so bright, like such a big fixture of our community, because of someone who had to go through substance abuse issues.
That's a powerful, powerful statement, and a tough thing for a community to go through. We'll come back to you. Now let's hear Riley's story and hear a little bit more about what's motivating you to move on this path.
Yeah, so like you said, I also live in a small town, it's very quiet, everyone knows everything about everyone, and just not a lot goes on here. So when we lost 2 students, that was very hard for the entire community. And preparing for the speech with our governor, my biggest thing was teenagers being the target for vaping industries.
Yeah, let me preface this by saying both these girls were supposed to speak at a press conference at the Capitol, which was delayed by chaos at the Capitol and bad weather. So obviously, as students, we couldn't make it, and this is a chance for them to speak out. Go ahead, Riley.
Yeah, so my biggest things is that vaping was marketed as a better alternative to quit vaping, and it's not at all like that. It's more about keeping them hooked, and it's a lot stronger than cigarettes are. I've had my grandpa had brought up to me how he would like to start vaping because he wants to quit smoking. And that's not like that. It actually keeps you hooked longer. And yeah, so sorry. With their bright colored packaging and candy flavored pods and cool designs, they're not meant for longtime smokers used to menthol and tobacco taste. They're for teenagers hooking a new generation on nicotine. And once they've got them, they're in. The addiction is real, with all the cravings, the withdrawals, and the endless cycle of just needing one more hit. And that's not freedom, that's control. And while you're fighting the urge to quit, these companies just keep counting their profits. The global vaping industry is worth over $20 billion. That's a lot of money built on addiction. Many teens believe that vaping is just water vapor, or that it's safer than smoking. Maybe they want to fit in or relieve some stress, but it's all an illusion, a trap designed to hook you young. And the scariest thing about teenagers being the target is that teenagers tend to think that they're invincible and that it won't hurt them. And the kind of thing only happens to other people. Addiction isn't just a habit, it's a business, and a business that profits from hurting people with some battery-operated device full of toxins. My mission is to help prevent others from being a target, and not only do I like to speak out about vaping, I also like to be an influence and a role model for those to speak up about what they want to see change in this world. So yeah, that's my story.
I absolutely love that. We're going to take a short break and come back and really talk about changing the world and why the pressure's on your generation to do some of that. See y'all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All MediaCom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your MediaCom account. Not a MediaCom cable subscriber? MediaCom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
After the storm stops and the winds settle, we come together to rebuild what matters. MediaCom is right here with you, committed to restoring your service and offering vital communications access. We're here to assist in relief efforts and to support our community in whatever ways we can. Most importantly, helping you stay connected to what matters most: family, friends, safety.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're talking about experiences that our teen guests are sharing, mostly with their peers. But teens today often find themselves carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, dealing with stressors that few adults are capable of helping them with. Unless we learn as adults what they are up against and what they need, they are a generation growing up alone. Riley, talk about this and this responsibility that I got to tell you, at your age, we never thought about having to make the world a better place. That wasn't our job, but it is yours now. And tell us a little bit about how that's sort of manifesting in your life.
Yeah, so, living in a small community, when one thing seems okay to some people, it seems okay to everyone. They're doing it, I can do it. We have a lot of parents and adults serving minors around here because it's just been okay for a while until a tragedy happened that kind of, sparked some awareness towards it and kind of changed the path, So, I think that being a teenager or still a kid in ways makes other youth listen to us a little more, because we've all had the adults who come in and talk about why you shouldn't vape or how it works or all the things it's full of. But, having like the role model that they look up to come in and tell them not to, maybe it'll spread the message a little bit more.
Kendall, what's your experience been?
It's definitely tough. Like Riley said, in a small town, I definitely feel like people just feel like they can do whatever they want, and they see it everywhere. That's the issue. We see it everywhere. It's in our school bathrooms, it's in our school hallways. It's right outside our front doors. It's our next door neighbor's party. It's everywhere, and it's so tough. We actually recently just had a vape shop pop up in our town, and we tried to fight it a little bit, but it's tough, and it's insane how quick it's spreading and how okay people are with it. Because we can respect people's choices all we want, but when it's starting to get marketed towards younger people, like Riley said, it is such a crazy market. They aren't out here to protect us, and so now we have to fight to protect ourselves. And that's been really hard, getting people to listen to us, even getting our peers to listen to us and realize some of these things that they're putting in their body are going to hurt them long term.
And you're going to have to depend on each other. Long after my age group, my generation's off the face of this earth, the peers that you're growing up with now are going to be your most important partners. Now this is something that fascinates me in a sort of a negative way. It doesn't seem that parents are as engaged as you think they would be, considering the risks. Now, I don't want you to get, a chip on your shoulder thinking that somehow you said parents aren't engaged. It's Peter saying that. That's what I see all over the state of Iowa. What's it like? What's parental engagement? Riley, starting with you, what's it like in your community?
Yeah, so, kind of like what I said before, once you see one parent doing it, maybe it's a little okay if I do it, Peter, I'm not quite sure how to answer that question.
Kendall, how about you?
Yeah. So this one's kind of hard for me to speak on, actually, because I am so beyond thankful for my parental guidance. My mother has always been a guiding light in this journey for me. She has educated me from a young age, especially with the history in our family. That's kind of been a little bit of a help to be a waking call for us. But she's always been a guiding light, showing me the right path and helping me understand how to make healthier choices, how to say no, and how to be there for my peers. So that's been amazing. But I do know that there are lots of parents out there in my community that are very lax on the subject, and they don't really care as much. They're totally okay hosting parties and letting kids grab bottles from their liquor cabinet. And so it's tough. I don't know how to reach those parents to tell them that they're making a bigger impact on their kids' lives than they really think they are.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be your responsibility. I mean, I'm for one, as an adult, will apologize. We should not be putting those controls in the hands of teenagers. It's not supposed to be your job. And the one thing I point out to parents, and I didn't mean to intimate that it was your own parents that might not be supportive. I know that you have a good family behind you when you do this, because that's part of what it takes to have the confidence to do this and not be afraid. But also your sort of heroic bravery, knowing that the general trend in the community is not in support of where you're coming from in the short term. Well, I mean, I've seen over the years that, which is why I'm praising you for being on the show, that your voices echo a lot longer into the future than you know. They have a big effect, but they're not always immediate. Part of that is, parents are afraid to admit they don't know something. And since most of these things target kids, they're not aware of them. Oh, there's plenty of ways, but adults that may switch to vaping may have smoked, or they may, there's different ways they get involved in it. But they don't realize how much the flavors and everything else and the stores in your neighborhoods influence the behavior of even their own kids. And we've learned over time that parents are often in denial even of their kids' bad habits. So I thank you for speaking up on that parental thing, because that's a very, very delicate issue. Because I think many, many parents feel guilty, feel unable, unprepared, and don't have the knowledge to know how to help you and deal with this, especially without having to admit that somehow we let this slip into our communities and our families without knowing it. That's not something parents like to admit to their own children, or even children in general. So I'm going to come back, and then we're going to have you give some advice to kids, maybe parents. We're going to have you share some stuff in the final segment on an upbeat note as to what people can do to help meet with some of these challenges. So we're looking forward to those insights and inspiration. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Get ready. MediaCom is now
mobile?
Well, not just mobile, but a 5G mobile network with reliability you can count on.
Really?
Just check out this map. Coast-to-coast coverage, plus hundreds of free extreme hotspots. It's an unbeatable network, and we've got some unbeatable prices too.
But I love this phone.
Easy. Keep your phone when you switch. And guess what? You'll love it even more. MediaCom Mobile. Learn more today.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Did you know that watching MC22 is now easier than ever before? I know, it's crazy, right? Crazy, Well, all MediaCom customers can watch local programming anytime online. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your MediaCom account. Not a MediaCom cable subscriber? That's fine. MediaCom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we gained a look at the important experiences of two teenage high school students that are representative of what many teens are going through today. Let's see what insights and inspiration Kendall and Riley have to share. Kendall, let's hear from you first.
I feel like the biggest thing that I want people to know is that this is definitely a twofold plan to start slowing these issues down. It starts with the parents. Please be open with your kids. Please have these conversations and educate your kids early on so that they know how to make these good choices heading into high school. And then now it's on to the students, making sure that you're supporting your friends and being there for them and educating yourself, finding ways to say no and make these healthier lifestyle choices.
Riley?
Yeah, my biggest thing is get involved, just try things. Stand up for what you believe in. When I first started, I just wanted to convince my friends, and it made me angry that I couldn't. So even if you can't convince the whole world, even if you can just convince one person, you probably just change that person's life in one way, that's my biggest thing.
Okay, you both experienced teens. You've been teenagers for a while. Kendall, starting with you, how young do these topics have to be? If you're going back in your own life, at what age would it be wise for parents to start talking to you about some of this stuff?
Absolutely. We started DARE in 5th grade. And I feel like that some parents may think that that was early, but I would say that is the perfect age to start it, because I had friends that were already vaping in 7th grade. Especially if they have older siblings. If your kids have older siblings, they're going to get exposed earlier than you want them to get exposed, unfortunately. So starting those conversations as young as 5th grade, I have a younger brother who's 12. Now is the perfect time to start talking to them.
And Riley?
You know, I would say middle school is probably the perfect age. You're getting right over that hump of being a little kid to being exposed to bigger things. And so, yes, middle schoolers definitely need the better influence the most.
All right, I have a question that requires a quick answer for both of you. Usually I ask an adult, if you could go back and talk to your teenage child self, go back in time, what would you tell them? I'm not going to ask you that one. I'm going to say, if you could go whisper in the ear of a parent, what secret would you share with them? Riley, let's start with you.
Just believe in yourself, believe that you can inspire people, that you can make a change, and that you can do what you set your mind to. You know, like when I was in middle school, I didn't think I would ever do anything like this, like speak in front of our governor. What? No. But, believe in yourself and always accept that you can change and that change is everywhere.
And Kendall?
I would say the biggest thing that I would tell them is remember that people are always watching and that kids see everything. And so putting your best self forward at all times so that everyone can see your true self and everyone has a role model to follow. That would be my biggest thing.
Thank you so very much for joining us today. And thank you all for watching. Check out our website at healthyiowa.org and watch MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. I'm MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.